as opposed to a regular stock. So I was able to put a pistol brace on the back end. And then some nice folks called Hera in Germany make a folding unit that's really nice, all steel, very nicely made, and put that in there. And so the whole thing's really tiny, but it's really fun. I put an optic on the top, and life is good.
You have built a Frankengun.
Yes, sir, I have.
and you're happy about that, aren't you?
I'm very happy about that. I got the idea from your friend Michael Bain. He was building a Frankengun, but he was using a regular charger. But I wanted the shorter barrel, and it was just a fun project. I'm still working on it, still kind of working with it, but it's just a whole lot of fun.
Now, would you use that for home defense?
I guess you could, but I've got better tools for that.
That's a setup, Tom. That was a
If we were talking about that earlier on the show, there's a fellow I know who's teaching people to use a charger for their home defense rig with a laser on it, but these are people who've never shot before, and for them that might be a good choice. Obviously, if you're a gun person, you have, as you say, Bob, you have other choices.
Right.
Yeah, I also decided more or less at the same time. I bought one of their barrel and slide combos for a Glock 3rd Gen.
Right.
And a buddy of mine had sold me a lower that he'd never used. He'd purchased a Glock lower and just never got around to building it, so he sold it to me, and I put a Brownell's barrell and slide on top and Glock internals. Thing runs like a champ. It's on my hip right now.
Sweet. Well, that is fun.
Yeah.
The folks at Brownell's are a pleasure to work with, aren't they?
They are indeed. When I went to buy the receiver, I was so pleased. I thought I was going to have to negotiate the FFL thing separately, and they had a list of all the FFLs in the website. So when I went to buy it, it was like, okay, and choose your FFL, and I found it listed prices, it listed everything, and some folks I hadn't thought of were the ones that I eventually went with. I just made a simple phone call over to them to make sure they knew it was coming, and life was good.
That is great. Hey, great range report. I appreciate it, Bob. Thank you, sir. And, have fun shooting your rigs, man. That sounds like a whole bunch of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Good deal. Well, I'll tell you what, let's jump from Bob to Robert. I guess it could be Robert to Robert or Bob to Bob. Either way, you're on line 5. Robert's with us out of Texas. Hey, Robert, what do you sound like you're looking at spending some money.
You talking about that Robertson armament?
Yeah, either that one or your 327 Federal, whichever one you want to talk about.
On the 327 Tom Magnum, I've heard you talk. I ordered that Ruger 327 pistol. Mm-hmm. I've heard you talk twice on can you shoot the 32 ACP in it. I still don't understand it.
As far as I know, you cannot shoot a 32 ACP in it. What we were talking about, and Michelle helped me out, you actually shoot the 32 Smith & Wesson in there, don't you?
That's correct, because you're dealing with a rimmed cartridge versus a semi-auto cartridge.
Right.
The 327 Magnum is centerfire.
Right, it's centerfire, but it is a rimmed cartridge to go into a revolver as opposed to a rimless cartridge in a semi-auto. So when you slide the cartridge into the cylinder, the rim stops it from going into the chamber. That's what headspace is on. So you need... The 32 ACP is a rimless cartridge, so it would just keep on going in there unless you had a moon clip on it.
So I wonder if they make one for that.
I don't know,
but something about a Federal 32 Federal or something.
No, it's you're looking for a 30. Well, you can shoot two different calibers in there. You can shoot 32 H&R, which is you can shoot in there, and you can also shoot 32 Smith & Wesson. Now, Michelle, is that I can't remember. It's a 32 Smith & Wesson long?
You can shoot either. You can shoot 32 Smith & Wesson or 32 Smith & Wesson long. I prefer to shoot the longs because you don't get so much powder residue build up in the cylinder.
In the chamber, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
exactly. Right. Yeah, that's a neat little pistol. Time I ordered from Guns and Ammo, I saw it in a magazine from Robertson Armament out of Utah. We had a hard time getting in touch with them on that. I'd have to get my book out, but I think it was LCR, but I think it was RLX. It's a 9-inch barrel. Mm-hmm. They had a big article in there about it.
It's called the XCR, and also known as the XCR QCB for close quarters battle. It's actually a multi-caliber system, it looks like. Kind of interesting. And
300 Blackout was the one they had a report on. It was really a good article. Man, I got the 9.5-inch barrel. Of course, they got to make it. It takes you 8 to 10 weeks to get it.
Oh.
They say if you don't like it, within 15 days, you can send it back to them, and they'll refund your money. I got the 300 Blackout because he said, well, he went through the calibers, but this one has a folding stock, but it doesn't have the, in other words, you can shoot it more than one time. He said you can change the AR-15s to, what do you call it, the gas block that's in the stock. I can't think of the...
buffer tube there?
But anyway, you can fold the stock on this, and you pull up on it and fold it, and it makes it real short. You can fire more than one shot.
Right. And Robert, I'm looking at the website here, and it looks like it's Robert Robinson, ROBINSON, RobinsonArmament.com. If people want to take a look at this XCR modular weapon system. Robert, look, I appreciate the call. I've got to scoot because we've got Steve holding. I need to get to him because he's on short time. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that call, and you'll enjoy that 327. That's just fun. Let me get down to line 3 where Steve is holding because he's got some information basically coming off of a caller we had during the show. Hey, Steve.
Yes, hey, Steve from Omaha. And two things. Got a range report about the Smith & Wesson 610 and then a reloading report.
Okay.
So I got the first run Smith & Wesson 610, not the later run.
Right.
But hey, they're both awesome. And mine's a 4-inch, and I can shoot light 40s or heavy 10s in it in the same moon clip, and man, it's just fantastic.
And when you shoot the 40 in there, it's like powder puff loads. When you shoot the full bore 10s, you're shooting essentially a Magnum in your revolver. And if you wanted to, we actually did this just because we're goofy. We took a full moon clip and we alternated 10, 40, 10, 40, 10, 40, just so you could see and feel the difference in the recoil. And that was kind of instructive as well.
I've done that, and it's well, 40 is a little snappy, but yes, it's mild for a 40. But yes, I've done that, and just to illustrate that it can be done, and and I reload those, and so those are very well. I can even go lighter than the light factories, and still, well, there's no action to cycle, so you can go super light on those. And
that's right. You can go as light as you want to because you don't have to run a slide or anything. Now, let me ask you, in your email to me, you said that we had a caller asking about small primers in 45 ACP, and you had some thoughts on that, some experience.
Yes, I scooped up some range brass and cleaned it, and I was reloading. This was a number of months ago, but this is how I discovered it. I couldn't get the big, large pistol primer to go in there, and I thought, what the heck is going on here? And I looked at the head stamp, and it's Blazer, and some of them were Spear. And I thought, oh, my goodness, they've gone to a small pistol primer. So I just been saving. And now here I've got a couple hundred of these, and I started using the small pistol primer in it, got a load recipe for it, and it performs just as well. I mean, it works great.
You just have to keep your brass separate, and then you have to make sure you cannot use the same load. You need a particular load recipe, load data for the cartridge when you're using the small pistol primer.
Right. That's right. Now they're very similar. So I'm still going by the recipe, but they're still very, very similar in performance and in recoil and in all of that. So some of the grains are identical. So it's the amount of fire coming out of the small primer is obviously less, but maybe, and you know the military, maybe the large pistol primer was overkill back in 1911, and they just left it that way because why change? And so,
the powders may be better now, and so they can say, "Well, look, we don't have to go with a large pistol primer now."
Well, I don't know, but it seems it makes sense. I mean, so yeah, so I've got two buckets of primers and one small one. I mean, 2 buckets of brass and one large pistol primer and one small.
Good, because I was hoping you didn't have buckets of primers. That's not a good thing.
Right.
For those who don't know, primers are the only explosive element of all this reloading stuff. So you need to keep them in their original containers, and that protects them. But you do not want loose primers rattling around somewhere.
No buckets of primers.
No buckets of primers, no.
Say, Steve, where did you find your reloading data for that?
When I first started, I went online and I just Googled small. Actually, I used DuckDuckGo. Thank you, Tom. And I used small, ACP small pistol primer, and reloading. Well, the forums came up, and then they directed me to Spear and Blazer or Blazer, however you pronounce it. But those two have reloading data for that. I couldn't find it anywhere else, but it's really similar to the Winchester and the other reloading. The Hornady reloading books that I have, they're very similar in performance and everything else is the same.
And this was the thing.
Overall length is the same. Everything else is the same.
The thing is, you could be buying ammo and not knowing which it is, and especially true if you're picking up brass on the range.
Right. Yes. Yeah, we'd shoot a pistol match, and we'd scoop up some brass, some mine, some everybody else's. And then here I am, this was 3 or 4 years ago now. I thought, what is this? How come this won't feed? And I looked down and I go, what the heck? There's a small... And I said, okay, that must be a thing now. And so I didn't throw any away, but, I'd have a small dish full. Now I got a tub full. Now I got a giant ice cream bucket full of it. So now I just kind of keep them separate. And
being a typical reloader, you don't throw away anything.
Just keep collecting.
Oh, it's like prison cigarettes. You got to hang on to that stuff.
Would you call it re-hoarding?
My wife's looking at me weird. She goes, what are you guys talking about? She thinks it's a rotten analogy. I think it's pretty good.
Well, if you're a reloader, you get it completely, don't you?
Nice.
Absolutely. That's right.
You go, no, I'm not. I'll pick up any brass anywhere. Well, you don't load those. Doesn't matter.
That's right. Someday I might, or somebody I know will.
That's right. It's brass. You don't leave it laying there.
Well, there was an article in the Concealed Carry USCCA magazine, February issue. This guy was saying, hey, I don't reload, but man, I pick up brass all the time because there's a scrap value for it. So there's that. Mm-hmm. And then if you tumble it, now it's worth more. And if you separate it, holy cow, now it's worth even more. So there's even if you don't reload, if you're a rock tumbler, well, tumble your brass. And
it gives you a chance. It's just a chance to do something else with gun stuff. That's just it. Steve, look, I appreciate it. Those are great reports, and I appreciate it a ton. And thank you so much for the email. I'm glad we were able to get through, even though we were having our technical issues today. Guys, let's take a quick break here. We'll come back, and we can pick this up on the backside.
It's back. The Smith & Wesson 10mm revolver. Yes, the Model 610 is back in 4 and 6.5-inch barrels. 6-shot moon clips full of powerful 10mm rounds. Plus, you can shoot 40 S&W ammo in it too. Stainless steel, black synthetic finger groove grips, interchangeable front sight with an adjustable rear sight. Take it to 10 with the Model 610 revolver. Visit smith-wesson.com.
Taking the striker-fired category by storm, the CZP-10 delivers what most in the genre cannot. From the superb trigger to the purpose-driven features to the engineered ergonomics, the CZP-10 is the complete package right out of the box. With 12+1 capacity in the P10S, 15+1 in the PC-10, and 19+1 in the P10F, there's a P10 for every purpose. For more information, please visit cz-usa.com.
Stay comfortable with the new Edge Tech collection of pants and polos from Proper. The budget-friendly Edge Tech collection of pants, shorts, and polos features ultra-comfortable and lightweight yet durable fabric that prevents wrinkles and holds up against everyday demands. Edge Tech from Proper delivers outstanding performance and value for work or everyday wear. Visit Proper.com to learn more about the Edge Tech collection from Proper.
Hey, this is Marty Daniel of Daniel Defense. For years, we've been bringing the highest quality ARs to our consumers at a great value. Now we're doing that same thing again with our Delta 5 bolt-action rifle. It combines the accuracy and durability we're known for with the modularity of our AR platform. And it comes with the features the best shooters will want right out of the box. Visit DanielDefense.com to learn more. Isn't it time you got a Daniel?
All right. So I'm hoarding my prison cigarettes.
That's pretty funny.
That was funny, wasn't it? And the thing is, we understood immediately what he was talking about.
Exactly.
Says, no, I do not have a 9mm Largo, but I got a lot of brass for it. What? What is it? I don't know, actually. But you never know. I may find a pistol or a revolver for it, whatever it is it takes. I don't know.
I may start dating a smelter.
I thought you fished for those.
I was going to say, what? Who'd you smell?
Can't you smell? I barely smelled her.
I smelled her coming.
I smelled her the minute she walked through the door.
This was going so well today.
Maybe we need the power outage to come now.
I guess, yeah. That's right. Where's a lightning strike when you need one?
At least we can laugh about it. What I meant is, can you melt down brass like you can lead?
No, wait, no. I'm still working on.
Okay, all right,
we're not. No, I'm not even going there. I'm just not. I'm just
Oh my.
No, you don't generally melt down. You would sell that to a recycling center or something like that.
Yeah, are you okay, Michelle?
She's still working on that. Smelt her before she got here.
Gosh. He's not talking about me, just so everybody knows.
It's all right. Just want to get that out there right now.
That's right. Just to clear the air. Okay, I need to go.
Oh, God. I wonder if our defibrillator still works here.
What's your heart rate and blood pressure now?
It's one of those days when you just get completely we got 255 or 260 radio stations out there, and we're knocked off the air, and everybody's going,
okay.
Good. Woo. For those who don't know, from the technical standpoint, we have, if I go off the air, Jim has a backup show running. If Jim goes off the air for power outage, then our network has a backup show running. So we have the backup to the backup, belt and suspenders, and that saved us once again.
Oh,
Yep.
man.
That's why we do that.
Never hurts to have redundancy either. We had a couple pieces of gear take a hit, but I'm going to order some more smoke and try to funnel it back into them. Maybe salvage them.
See, I told you, they run on smoke. When the smoke leaks out, they stop.
Yep.
So there it is. Goodness gracious.
Things happen. What are you going to do?
We do what you do. And we got back on the air, and we made it work, and it was all cool. We ended up with some pretty interesting folks talking about, I was thinking about the Norma guy, Michelle. Mm-hmm. That's a name and ammo that you kind of almost had to be a gun geek to know those guys for a long time because they weren't very big in the U.S.
No, and their ammo has been quite hard to find. I mean, we've had people who have requested the purchase of Norma ammo, and it is difficult because there's not a whole lot of distributors that pick that line up. And
so I guess like a couple of years ago, they decided to really ramp up their U.S. presence. And so, that's a great thing because it's good ammo.
It's great. I mean, it's high quality performance. It was a hunting ammunition for years.
Oh, yeah. That was, and especially you were going to run into it. If you were hunting in Africa or Europe, you were probably going to run into people shooting Norma ammo because I'm not sure, but I would bet that's probably the biggest ammo company in Europe.
Yeah. It's exciting to hear that they've made that commitment.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
So when I looked on their site, I said, they got 17 Remington. And they said, okay, well, then they're the real deal because that's way out on the fringes of what you load.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy shooting that, and it's varmint season, so I'll have to look that up.
Most people go, are you talking 17 HMRs?
Nope, 17 centerfire Remington.
17 centerfire Remington. I think that was the first cartridge I ever heard of. Factory loads going more than 4,000 feet per second.
Yeah, and doesn't blow the carcass to pieces. It just kills them.
It just vaporizes.
Don't you have
if you
to
want to shoot a coyote, that's the rig right there.
When you shoot ground chucks and stuff, Michelle, don't you have to do that from like 1,000 yards?
Oh, yes, at least.
Because any closer, they would have smelt her by then.
Oh, gosh, there we go.
Could you give him a flashlight and let him crawl around under the tables again for a while?
Do they make groundhog urine you can put yourself like dough?
This is not deer hunting. Like no, it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
and besides, you want to stay downwind. So there you go.
And putting them on the luggage rack really looks silly.
Oh my goodness!
Strapped across the top.
Throw a marmot, varmint.
All bungee down, tagged.
I ever tell you about the guy? We had our local jokester. I mean, this guy was like the ultimate practical joker. And in our hometown there in Natchitoches, Louisiana, there were like 6 or 8 churches on this one street, on 2nd Street. Those will know. And they all let out at the same time. And one Sunday morning, when they all let out, this guy, who had been out deer hunting, goes down the street very slowly, except that he has taken his deer and tied it so its hooves are on the steering wheel that's sitting behind the wheel. And he is strapped over the hood of the car. And his buddy is leaning down, driving the car so nobody can see him.
Oh, my God. That's great.
And they go creeping down the street with this deer driving, and there he is, Barry, is strapped in over the hood of the car.
That's hilarious.
How many people called the police?
Nobody. They probably went, yeah, that's probably Barry. No, that's just Barry over there.
Look at those ears. He's a 2-pointer.
Oh, gosh. The stuff. Crazy stuff.
Wow.
Man.
You couldn't get away with that now, I'm sure.
No. Oh, no. It'd be,
No sense of humor.
It's true. A lot of people, they don't just laugh things off. It's like, this must be stopped. This must be reported.
Right.
And fortunately, there are still law enforcement officers who do have a sense of humor or just go, hey, guy, you don't do that anymore, okay? It's like, we don't have to run you in on this thing. Just, you're disturbing the natives. Just leave them alone. God. So, let's see. You remember, Michelle, what when you're calling coyotes, what their call sounds like a squealing rabbit, right? Mm-hmm. Which also sounds a lot like a squealing dog. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And so when we got the first electronic calls, which were actually record players with a horn, this goes way back 50 years ago. So my brother and I get out there right next to the road, put this thing out, and we're standing kind of behind a low bush, so you can see us, but you can't see the call. And we crank this thing up really loud, and we stand there right behind this bush, it's about knee high, with a big stick banging onto the ground, so it sounds like we are beating some small animal, and it's going, squealing.
You guys are terrible. What is going on down there?
We were like 13 or 12 or something.
2 weeks ago.
Is Barry relation to you?
Yeah, probably. Hey, in the South, we're all related to everybody, so it's okay.
Oh, my.
Oh, goodness. When we weren't out there trying to shoot nutrias.
See, this is what happens when parents don't let you back in the house.
Well, did I ever tell you about when we went to Mexico for 5 weeks with my family on vacation?
Yeah, this is great.
I was like 12, I think brother was 10, and they had to give us something to occupy our time. So as soon as we got into Mexico, they bought us both machetes and said, just go play.
Oh, nice.
So for 5 weeks, wherever we stopped, we grabbed our machetes and went out into Mexico and chopped on anything we could find. Fortunately, not on each other and not on our arms, but that's pretty much how I grew up.
Oh,
twisted and deranged.
Yeah, great. When I went to the barber shop when I was like 8 or 9, we just take one of the boats because you could take the boat into town. So it's kind of like Amos Moses in that song. So.
And eventually he'll tie this into guns somehow. Well, there was a gun on the boat. There was a gun in the boat.
Oh, there was a gun everywhere. You kidding me?
Not a boy. Not a boy.
We bought BBs by the case. We went to the local wholesaler, Dad did, and would buy BBs by the case because I would shoot, 2,000 BBs a day.
Wow.
Just
you don't reload?
Wearing out BB guns.
Right.
Yeah, we reloaded, yes. So, okay, Michelle, you may have done this. You may have known. You have boys, so you know about having son. Where you just put a whole bunch of BBs in your mouth, and that way to reload, you just take the gun, the little opening of the gun, you spit them all in there.
Ugh. No.
But with the paper
they're
straw.
Not lead. It's copper.
Straw,
so
yeah.
I mean, they don't taste that bad when you swallow them. It's not bad.
No. Oh, gosh. See, I can see that's where the other brother comes up, smacks you on the back, like, how you doing?
The doctor's reports are your iron level's good, but your copper and brass is a little high.
But the real downside of that is when the internals of your gun start rusting.
Yeah, that's gross.
But there, we did not have squirrel problems. I'm just here to tell you.
I would imagine.
No. And you could get pretty darn good when you go out and shoot 2,000 times a day.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
It's like, if I see it, I can hit it. It was pretty much.
So did you buy rebuild kits for the BB gun?
No. We just got new guns.
Just get a new gun, yeah.
Used the Daisy Model 25 slide action.
Okay.
With a little scissor arm on it that would pinch the snot out of you. Mm-hmm.
That's
get your hand.
It's amazing to me how many people collect old BB guns.
Really?
That is a thing.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yes. I mean, even if they're not working, people will piddle around with them, tinker with them, or whatnot. But, there's always people looking for old pellet guns, BB guns, all of that.
Well, we were always envious of if any of the neighbor kids would show up with the Benjamin pump.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you could pump those up and have more power.
Right.
That was like having a Magnum pellet gun or BB gun. They shot pellets. All we were shooting was BBs. So.
Ooh. I think I had a Crossman.
Pellet envy.
Nice. Crossman
Close.
760 sound right, Tom?
Yeah, Crossman 760.
It was a lever.
Yeah,
it was a lever style.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here you are with the levers again.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That,
Man. Something about you Detroit boys.
Yeah, I know. Italian Detroit boys. I carried a 760 and an accent.
And an attitude.
Right.
Did you shoot air guns growing up, Michelle?
Nope.
Nope. How about your boys or your youngins?
Yeah, both of them did. Actually, my both of the kids started on Red Riders. That was like some of their first guns. Oh yeah, and all it said was "Eider" because we had to cut it down so far.
You cut the stock so short, you cut off the red and the R.
Yep.
That thing may not have even been legal.
No, but it was a great way to start them out. And, like with my husband, they didn't just frivolously give ammunition, for 22s and stuff. So my husband would be given a couple of rounds of 22s and you bring back a bird, I'll give you more. So he had to get really good really quick. So, that was the thing. But gosh, all those years ago, well, it seems like all those years ago, a couple years ago, I guess, when we were short on 22 supply, it was like, man, wish you had those coffee cans full again. But don't regret ever handing those out to the kids.
Now, 22 ammo, it really did drop back, not to its previous levels, but it's still pretty cheap these days, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, even the good quality ammo is down to being realistic again. But, you can pick up your mini mags for $8 and $9, I suppose, depending on where you go. But
that's for a box of 50?
100.
100, okay.
Yeah.
Better.
Yep. So, yeah, it's, and I say it is definitely available, I guess I want to say.
So if it's $9, call it $9 for 1,000 or 100 rounds, rather. You could go in and buy 2 boxes a week right now. For $20, roundabout. Not bad.
Skip a couple of McDonald's meals.
That's it. A couple Starbucks, you're there.
Oh, there.
Right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you do that for a year, and you're sitting on several thousand rounds, and you're good to go. And basically, you're hedging against whatever might be coming in the way of another one of these runs on stores like we had.
Right. But just don't tell your neighbors you have that kind of ammo sitting around, right?
No.
I mean, my goodness, you wouldn't want to be reported.
You see the guy out in California, they said he had more than 1,000 guns, and the police are just taking, I don't know if he was a bad guy or a good guy, but if they were collector's items, they were just shoving them in barrels and throwing them in piles and basically just damaging them the whole way. And you're going, really, I mean, come on. He hasn't had his trial. We don't know if he's actually done anything wrong here. Just having the guns is not illegal. And it's not a case where you can say, well, you'll get your value back. There's no way to get the value back if they've taken collector's guns and thrown them in a huge pile and banged them all up.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, that makes me sick.
As we say, when somebody says, well, he had more than 100 guns, I go, well, so do a lot of the people I know. That's,
Yeah, I don't view it as an arsenal by any means. It's just...
and even if it is, what's wrong with that?
Right?
Yeah, nowhere is it written the limitation of how many you can have.
Although they would sure like to do that. In Europe, there is. I think, depends on the country, but there are countries where you can only have like either 3 or 8 guns. And it's one of the reasons, interesting little tidbit, that guns like the Blaser R8 are so popular because you can have as many barrels as you want. So you have rifles with interchangeable barrels. So you could have 12 different calibers, but only one rifle. It only counts as one against your limit. So when we look at it, we go, well, what's the big deal? Why would you do that? It's an $8,000 rifle. Why would you spend that kind of money? Because around here, we can buy another rifle for $500, $400. They're going, you don't understand. I mean, I'm maxed out. I have 8 guns. That's all I can have. Oh.
I hope people are paying attention to what you just said.
Well, and in Switzerland, they just voted at a popular referendum to enact a whole bunch of strict gun control laws.
They're asking for it. I don't get that.
They have been so brainwashed by being in the EU and listening to the media, and they have no Second Amendment, and they have an average of either 26 or 28 guns per 100 Swiss. So think about that. There aren't that many on a percentage basis of people who actually own guns. So you put it up to the popular vote, and the people who don't have them will go, yeah, we got to get some controls on this. And boom, there you are. It's the difference from democracy. It's why these statewide referendums are so dangerous, and it's why the anti-gunners are using them so often. They bypass the representative system. And if you can buy enough advertising, you can convince the public that black is white and up is down, and that they need gun control.
Right. It's happening.
That's what's happening. Once again, spinning us all the way back to getting involved in your state group.
Right. Paying attention, not listening to the news media, doing your own investigating.
Boy, that's a good point. Somebody asked me at dinner last night, said, do you read newspapers? I said, no, I don't read any newspapers. I go to newspaper websites. But it's one of those you have to actually work harder at finding your sources of information these days. Used to, you just got your newspaper and you read it.
Right.
Now you got to select which places to go, and you can't just go to the places that reinforce your beliefs.
But coming from that background, I mean, do you feel, Tom, that journalism has gone out?
I think that journalism doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
No, there's no journalism. Not as I knew it. And understand, this is a guy who went to journalism school.
Right.
The oldest school of journalism in the world is where I went. And I was the first student there, actually.
Yeah, how old are you? I was just going to say, man.
Stone tablet days.
Yeah.
I went to University of Missouri, the J school there. And what I remember the first J school class, the guy says there are 3 tenets in journalism: accuracy, accuracy, and accuracy. Ooh. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's more like advocacy replaced accuracy.
Well, it just seems everything off of the national is what we hear on the local. I mean, and so if you listen to it, it's all the same rhetoric. It's all almost the exact verbiage. It's just re-reporting of a national blurb.
Yeah. What I love seeing is CNN claiming that Alex Jones is full of BS. It's
right.
Like blind leading the blind.
This is the CNN where I caught them making up quotes.
Yep.
And actually quoting a person they'd never talked to, because I tracked down the ATF guy they were quoting. And then, of course, this John Zarella, which is their key guy down in Florida, he did the fake story where they were shooting the cinder blocks with 223 from an AR and then 223 from another gun. And when you shoot a cinder block with 223 from an AR, it just tears it up. And when you shoot it from another gun, it doesn't even scratch the cinder block. Isn't that amazing?
You mean the high power 223?
Yes. Yeah, they actually just showed him missing or not shooting the cinder block and saying, this is what happens when you shoot it with this round when it's not from an assault weapon. It was like the worst kind of fakery. Wow. Unbelievable. But he still works there. He was called on it. He got called out on it. He still works there.
Yeah. If people don't know, they believe it.
That's right.
They just saw it. It's video proof.
It's video proof. See, I saw it on CNN. And they wouldn't fake anything. They couldn't get away with faking anything, of course. No, except that that's what they do.
Makes me sick.
Yeah, so you really do have to kind of work. I'll tell you what I do. I go to aggregator sites, places that, like Drudge Report, where they'll have 20 stories from different news sources. And then you go to another place. You go to Huffington Post, and then you go to Slate, and then you go to CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. And by the time you go to all of those, and then, of course, I go to, I'll tell you a really good one if you're interested in gun news. It's keepandbeararms.com. Mm-hmm. That is the aggregator site for news stories, and they're updated daily on gun stuff. Keepandbeararms.com. It's a real good one.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then there's kind of, it's not real new, but it's kind of new, is AmmoLand has become a really good source of information.
Yep. And they stay up on the currencies of events as far as shoots and national titles and all that type of thing, too. So it's fun to watch. Yep. Fun to watch things come across there with the Olympian athletes.
If you're interested in what's going on with competitive shooling, with news stories, with politics, with new gear, all the rest of it, AmmoLand's a good place to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a good one.
Yep. All righty, guys. Well, we have survived through the hard work of Michelle holding a flashlight. And I hope you were giving him a hard time the whole time about where's your flashlight.
I didn't even have to ask the question. I think he brought it up himself.
I have the tail between my legs in the moment. And the saying that, we'll check it out when the smoke clears. That pretty much applies.
So that's what you're going to be doing now, huh? Checking out because the smoke is finally cleared. Find out how much damage and what's not working. And did you say you may have lost hard drive in there?
Yeah, apparently. I'm just kind of playing with it while we were talking. And
well, the thing is that we don't keep anything important on these hard drives anyway.
No.
All right. Well, good job. Well handled. I really appreciate you guys jumping on this through the middle of the crisis today. That was great.
Working together.
There it is.
Stuff happens.
So I'm going to go stuff some 32 ACPs in a 327 and watch them just slide all the way through the cylinder and fall on the ground.
Tap right through, yeah.
But, there's safety in that. There you go. You guys have a good week.
We'll see you, Tom.
Well, that wraps up another Gun Talk After Show. But if you want even more gun-related stuff, don't forget to check out Gun Dealio. It's the app for Apple and Android phones that connects you to all the Gun Talk shows, plus even more. And we'll catch you next time for the Gun Talk After Show.